about death really until they're forced to. But 20 years ago, I was not only physically dead, I had been dead for a while. And that experience radically changed everything about what I am and who I am. In 1999, I arranged to go to Chile in kayaks. And I was looking forward to this section of river that's well known for its waterfalls. We put on the river and we went over the first couple of drops. This river has a very high flow. So we decided to run this smaller part of the first major waterfall. And so I pulled out in the current. There was another kayaker who had sort of bobbled her way past, and her boat was lodged sideways at the entrance. So I was forced over to the main part of the waterfall. I mean, I knew it was not going to be good. My boat became pinned, and I was completely submerged under 10 feet of water. I was not breathing. My torso was absolutely plastered to the front deck of the boat. And I could feel my bones breaking. I thought I should be screaming, but I wasn't. I felt no pain, no fear, no panic. I felt more alive than I've ever felt. I could feel my spirit sort of peeling away from my body, and my spirit was then released up to the heavens. I was immediately greeted by a group of somethings. I don't know what to call them. People, spirits, beings. I didn't recognize any of them, but they had been important in my life story somehow, like a grandparent who died before I was born. They were so overjoyed to welcome me and greet me and love me. These beings started taking me down this pathway. The pathway was very thickly covered with hundreds of thousands of flowers and the aromas of flowers. It was exploding with every color of the universe. There was an absolute shift of time and dimension. I experienced all of eternity in every second, and every second expanded into all of eternity. The pathway went to this great dome structure. I believe I was in heaven, God's world, whatever you want to call it. I had an overwhelming sense of being home. At the same time, I could look back at the river where my body was still submerged underwater. The group of kayakers kept trying to get to me, but they were never able to do it. And after maybe 15 minutes, they had given up rescue. They had really shifted over into a body recovery mode. One of the guys saw my life jacket pop up downstream and thought that maybe my husband would want it. As he got that, he felt my body hit his neck. So he reached underwater and grabbed my back. My body was bloated and purple, and I had fixed eyes. There's absolutely no doubt in my own mind that I was physically dead. But I watched from the entrance to the dome structure as they started CPR, and I could still hear them. One of the guys kept calling to me to come back and take a breath. No, please come back. I know you're still here. I had been without oxygen for 30 minutes, and the statistical likelihood of my survival should have been 0. I did not want to go back down to my body. I had a very, very physical sensation of being held and comforted and reassured that everything was fine. But the beings told me that it wasn't my time, that I had more work to do on Earth, and that I had to go back to my body. When I opened my eyes, the guys that resuscitated me were stunned. I was in terrible shape. I mean, I had just drowned, but I also had multiple broken bones and torn ligaments in my legs. And I was on the side of a river in the middle of nowhere. The guys who resuscitated me put my body on top of the gate and then began to try to get me up the hillside. We emerged onto a dirt road. They thought maybe someone would run and get a tractor or a horse or something, but when we emerged onto the dirt road, exactly there was an ambulance, which in 1999 in southern Chile didn't exist. It was inexplicable. It took a number of hours, but my friends got me to the hospital. My husband was...
The reason I'm exploring the topic, and if you're interested in the topics of life after death, reincarnation, the Old Testament, the New Testament, and you know what incited all of this passion in me was the Charlie Kirk assassination. I've never seen anybody in their mind trying to do so much good. And it's Christmas. Today's Thursday, December the 25th of 2025. It's 10:14 Eastern Pacific time. And this is a segue into the other curiosity I have on the other playlist. I'm doing various series right now. I'm reading The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Trevor and I are doing Karaoke Fridays. I'm exploring journaling. And Eric, a really nice subscriber, sent me Matthew McConaughey's journal, Green Lights. So the assassination and his death, and somebody who seemed to have really good intentions, faced with such evil. And then you look at Christmas, and on Christmas Eve, I think Mary should be celebrated a lot for various reasons that I talked about on another live. There's also a trivia contest. All of this footage will be erased, and in 2026, I think I figured out the areas that I've been making mistakes on with the YouTube channel. And what makes a successful YouTube channel versus a channel that's been unsuccessful is everything I've been doing, the wrong things, too many things at one time. Being in the same area, having consistency, being in a steady mood so people really get to know who you are. You have to be very healthy and well-minded to have a healthy and well-minded YouTube channel. So, on that note, I'm still going to listen to this series called Surviving Death and Near-Death Experiences, Past Lives, and it's just right now a listening podcast, as it were. And I tape things like this for myself so I can sleep at night too. I can't sleep in silence. So, at any rate, Merry Christmas, everybody, and I hope you enjoy this audio. And it's about a woman who had a near-death experience, and I was just trying to navigate what I was doing right or wrong with YouTube. And so I figured it out, and I'll talk about it. However, I strongly suggest it being Christmas, exploring religion and journaling and church and all of the activity that I've been posting on YouTube prolifically for the last 2-3 months. That's why there's so many videos. So if there's anything you like on this channel, and there's so much to pick from, and there's a lot of good dancing shorts, download them, because I'm deleting everything on the 31st of January, and I'm starting fresh 2026. And thank you for all of you that didn't swipe away, that stayed with me, gave me a chance. And as a result of all of you, this non-donation charity is working because of all y'all. Anyways, enjoy this audio.
Actually told that I probably would not survive the night, but I did. I was in the hospital for more than a month. I had several operations, then many, many months of rehab before I could walk again. And statistically, I had...
For those of you that always wonder why I'm sniffling, I have really bad allergies. Like, my throat gets so itchy that I have to scratch it. It's terrible. So, okay, God bless. Enjoy.
Zero likelihood of surviving without significant brain damage. But I never actually had any brain damage. My kids might say something differently, but I made a complete recovery. As a physician, I'm not really in a crowd of people who want to talk about things like near-death experiences. People in science often think you can't possibly believe in anything supernatural. When I went off to medical school, I would have defined death as death, meaning physical death. But my near-death experience, and then what happened to my son 10 years later, changed my definition of death significantly. I don't believe that we know everything.
A near-death experience, sometimes called an NDE, is a profound experience that many people have when they come close to death. Probably between 10 and 20% of people whose hearts actually stop will report these dramatic near-death experiences. Here at the Division of Perceptual Studies, we study the possibility that something about humans may survive.
Well, I do have 2 ghost stories to tell. And we are 14 minutes and 13 seconds in.
So when the physical brain stops working, then the consciousness ends. So the idea that there might be this consciousness piece that could continue on conflicts with a pretty basic principle. But the question of what happens after we die is something that has intrigued humans for as long as we've been around.
We've been doing this research for almost 50 years now. We study mediums, people who think they can communicate with the deceased. We studied...
Here's a question. One of the series that I'm doing right now is Matthew McConaughey. And if you want to find out about any of the series that I'm doing now until January the 1st or December the 31st, January 1st, please look on the playlist. And again, if you hear me sniffling a lot, I have really bad allergies. If you see me grabbing my nose is always itchy. My father had the same nose, same issues. But at any rate, with this Christmas and the live that I put up at the church last night, seeing friends yesterday, not the best communicative Christmas with my family. However, enjoyed the time that I needed to pray. And I'm reading The Exorcism of Emily Rose. I'm reading Ask Not the Kennedys and the Women They Destroyed. I'm looking into life after death, and the reason the segue fits into the journaling part of the playlist is why these all intertwine is one of the first things Matthew McConaughey says is ask yourself questions. And I thought, well, what questions do I have? And one of the questions I've always had is, what happens after we pass away? Is there a God? I'll go into that journey another time. And that's why I've been watching Tucker Carlson and following what's been going on with Candace Owens and blah, 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 blah. But as humans, do we want to know what happens when we die because our egos are so big? Or because we're afraid? Or just want to live forever? I'd like to know what your thoughts are. We are, I don't know, 17 minutes in, and in the comments, and this goes along with the other playlist, the raffle that I'm conducting, where you can win a $50 Amazon card, and you don't have to pay for it. It's already paid for. I just need to put somebody's name in a hat so somebody can win. If you email me as to what your thoughts are, as to what you think happens life after death, I'd love your opinion. Or, by all means, leave a really long comment. And that will be your name in the hat for the raffle. I'll leave it at that, and I'll keep it on the audio now. And this happened to a doctor, and she's a neurologist. And this type of stuff is weird. I don't know what to make of this. That's why I'm listening. And so when Matthew McConaughey said, what are your questions? I'm like, well, you can watch that video. It's under Matthew McConaughey. All right, here we go.
Deathbed visions, what happen to people as they die. We've studied reincarnation and a variety of other spontaneously occurring experiences on the border between life and death, such as near-death experiences. If you look back in history, there have been what we now call near-death experiences since prehistoric times. But the first collection of near-death experiences was put together in 1892 by Albert Heim, a geologist in Switzerland. While climbing in the Alps, he had fallen and had a beautiful experience as he was falling down the mountain. He described time expanding as he went faster and faster, and he was so struck by this experience that he started asking other mountain climbers and quickly collected 30 other cases like his.
That's because there's no oxygen up there.
Who had blissful experiences.
Jesus.
And then in the 1960s and 70s,
That's
resuscitation
stupid.
medicine really got started.
External chest compression
That's
is the best
stupid.
rescue technique for artificial circulation.
Did you hear that
Which
one?
means when we
On
bring
Mount
people back
Everest?
from the brink of
Of
death
course
in
they
larger and
felt
larger
that way.
numbers,
There's no fucking
many people
oxygen
came
up
back
there.
and reported these blissful experiences
I mean, some
in
of
which they
these
left their
theories are
bodies
pretty
and
stupid.
traveled to some
But,
other
you
realm.
know, you never know. See, hey, look, if everything was a fact, there'd be no room for possibility. So, what the hell do we know? This stuff is from the early,
into this tunnel.
late 90s.
And
Okay, I'll
when
shut
they
up.
they come out into a very brilliant, warm, loving, and accepting light.
In 1975, Raymond Moody wrote his book Life After Life, which caused many people, myself included, to take near-death experiences more seriously.
When Raymond Moody's book came out, I thought that near-death experiences were rubbish, had to be. And they occurred in the United States, in California, and that's the end of it. Would it ever cross to England? No, we're far too sensible to have experiences like this. But I'm a neuropsychiatrist, and one day this guy walked into my consulting room. He just had the cardiac catheter go wrong, left his body, watched the resuscitation process, and had a full near-death experience. And so there I was, confronted. Did I believe or did I not? Well, I thought that before I could draw any conclusions, that I ought to study them. So I've been studying near-death experiences for about 40 years. The science we have, which is a materialistic science, says it's all brain, all brain. So when the brain stops functioning, you can't be conscious. But during a near-death experience, you get these very wide expansions of consciousness, even when the brain has ceased to function. So it can't be all brain.
Near-death experiences are subjective experiences that are very difficult to confirm objectively. And that raises questions in the minds of many scientists. Some of the critics of this research complain that this is just anecdotes. Well, actually, if you look at the history of science, all science starts as collecting anecdotes and then finding patterns among those different stories. And there are millions of these experiences being reported across the globe.
I was experiencing a really bad asthma attack in my apartment.
I was blown up by a bomb in the Vietnam War and then shot through the arm, chest, and neck.
I was hit broadside by a woman who was texting while she was driving.
I hit my head, broke my neck, injured my spinal cord, and was paralyzed right away.
I've been doing this work for 4 decades now, and what I found is that no matter how you come close to death, there are very consistent patterns in the experience itself and in how it affects people. For example, people all over the world will report that their sense of time was distorted.
For me, there was no sense of time.
Moments or months or millennia, I don't know.
I had no idea how fast it was going, but it was light speed.
They also describe this warm, loving being of light.
A sense of getting information from some really high-frequency teachers.
Very embracing and warm and caressing.
A warm energy hug to the brain.
And then there are things that are paranormal or otherworldly, like your ordinary senses becoming much more vivid.
All this grand music.
Jacques Cousteau, being under the water and all these fish.
I started.
Okay, everybody.
Like that drop
I
in the
can't
ocean
listen to
disappearing.
any more,
If I could
but
reach
tell
out
me
and
what
touch
your
a leaf,
thoughts are.
I became an aspect of that leaf.
That was a tiny,
That
tiny light.
is a
A
wrap.
tiny speck of light, and then I'd become a
How
brick
do I
of
turn
light.
this off now? Hey, Trevs.
You see the same phenomena from alternate cultures.
Yes,
And they often
100%.
feel that it profoundly changed them.
I see the beauty in everything now.
100%.
Oh, that's a good idea. I looked up the Mac computer and I'm gonna get one. I have the money for it. So
What is going on?
I'm going to bed,
That has
Trevor,
such power to change a person's life in
and I hope you had a good Christmas. I had a really good Christmas Eve. Christmas Day was a bit to be desired. Anyways, I love you, kiddo. I'll talk to you later. How do I turn this off?